Alright then, 80% win rate strategy. I'm just going to go over the strategy really quickly, and then I'm just going to show you the examples of the trades that I took last week. Some absolute bangers, to be honest, and some of the best setups that I've actually ever seen. So make sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and if you do want to get alerts and signals, you can get them in the description below. Thank you very much. So we're just going to take a look at the strategy then. Very simple. Really all I do for this, and to get the best results, all I really do is I'll just have, let's say this is your hourly time frame. I'll just go and mark out all the major swing lows. I just go on the 5 minute or the 15, mark out all my swing lows like this, and very simply I'll just set alerts at them. And once we hit these levels, I'll just be looking to take inversions back to the upside like this when we hit these levels. And this is really all I do. It sounds ridiculously simple, but I'll just show you what I mean. So say for example, we've got a major level like this. We come up, we come up, we come up, and then we come down, we sweep the low, and then I'm looking for inverted fair value gaps back to the upside. It's really simple. So say for example, this is your level of liquidity. You sweep the liquidity, and then you're looking for a fair value gap like this to get inverted back to the upside. And my strategy is really simple. I just enter on the inversion, have my stop loss halfway between the low and the gap. Manual stop loss if we come down and stop back below this level. And then I'll just target a 1-for-1. When we hit the 1-for-1, I'll take half my position off at this level, step my stop loss to break even, so it's a free trade, and then I'll just target back up through the levels of liquidity that we'll probably have above. There'll be swings in here that you can target, or just back to the overall high. And I've been trading this for a while now, and it's been absolutely incredible how well this has worked for me. I'm always just looking as well for these really quick V shapes back to the upside like this. You want like 3 pattern candle V shapes are the best. But you can do like 5, 6 ones like this that still work really well. You can see this one here. Obviously we come down. Let's say this is your liquidity sweep. You come down and we get the inversion back up. I'd enter on the break of that gap like this. Stop loss is a manual stop halfway between, targeting 1-for-1. And then as I said, you come up. Let's say the next candle hits this like this. I take half my position off at this 1-for-1 level. Stop loss goes to break even on the rest, and I just very simply will target back up through levels of liquidity. Depending on the scenario, I might take some off at 2-to-1, 3-to-1, but overall this strategy has been working incredibly well for me, and I'm really excited to show you some of the examples of the trades that I took last week. So let's go in chronological order from Monday, and hopefully I can remember them off the top of my head. I've gone back way too far there. What am I doing? Okay, so this was Friday going into Monday last week. So some good trades in here already. Let's talk about these. So basically this was the first one that you could have taken. Not a major liquidity sweep by any means, but this one here I thought had a really good potential. You can see we open up, we're obviously grinding to the upside. We've got an obvious area of accumulation here where we're kind of going sideways, and depending, as I said, on the scenario, I'll only take major liquidity sweeps unless there's a really good 3 pattern candle V shape like this. So say for example, you've got a candle like this, you come down, you got a candle like this, and then the next candle is back up. Let's just try and draw these actually straight so it makes it simpler to see. This is your 3 candle V shape with your fair value gap like this. If I see one of these, especially on a higher time frame like the 5 minute, I'm probably going to take this even if it doesn't have a major liquidity sweep. As long as it's got a minor liquidity sweep, I'll probably still take this because this is very bullish price action. When you think you come down, you take a low, you make a liquidity sweep, and then you come up with that much momentum instantly, tells me that we're probably going to keep going higher. And as you can see, as I've just drawn out a perfect example of this was the first trade that I took last week on Monday. I thought this was a really good trade, and definitely something that you should be looking for if you are going to be trading this kind of strategy. 3 pattern candle V shapes like this are really good. So you can see we've come down, we've obviously took out a bunch of liquidity here that's been sitting for a while, for essentially an hour or two after London, where we just kind of pumped up and continued. Very simple. Liquidity sweep, 3 pattern candle V shape, enter on the inversion back above. Stop loss is halfway between the low and the high. The low and the fair value gap, I should say. And then I'm just targeting a 1-for-1. I need to change this so I can actually see. 1 second. Text needs to be black. There we go. I changed my things this morning so they'd be on brand, but as you can see, you couldn't actually bloody see what they were saying. But there we go. Now we can see. This looks a lot cleaner already. So you can see We're targeting a 1 for 1. We come up, beautiful, beautiful close. You can see how this closed with basically no top wick. This really told me that we were looking bullish here. So obviously after the next few 5 or 10 minutes here, we came back, retested, but never closed below. This is my condition. If you close back below, that's when you close the position. We came up, we hit the 1 for 1. That coincided perfectly with this high. Took half my position off here, as you can see. And then I was holding, as you can see what I was talking about earlier in terms of context and targets. This was pre-New York Open, as you can see. And I wasn't prepared to hold this through New York Open when I was already essentially up around once we got to around that 3 to 1 RR and we were getting towards Open. I just trailed my stop loss basically up to somewhere in this region here. And we ended up being, I think I got stopped out at just under a 3 to 1 RR. But this was a perfect trade. Look how beautiful this is. This just looks amazing to me. This is the kind of thing that you want to be seeing. Those 3 pattern candle V shapes, like I said. I apologise, my hair's really annoying me. As we can see, very, very clean trade. And then I was pretty much done for this day. This was a bit of a weird day where we had quite a lot of chop. Obviously, Mondays can't always be like that. Let's just check on the 1 minute so I didn't forget anything. I think there was another trade on this day, but I just need to make sure. There was an inversion, I think. I think I might be thinking of Tuesday, actually. You can see there wasn't really anything here that you would have taken. This was just a lot of chop. Really, the trade that you should have taken was that 5 minute there. There was a... I think this was it. Was this? There was like a 2 minute or a 3 minute in this area here. I'm going to circle it and I'm going to go back to it because TradingView is really stupid the way that it doesn't just stay on the position that you're in. Hello? Where is it? I literally can't see it. There it is. Was it a 3 minute? Yeah, there was this 3 minute, I believe. Or was it a 5 minute? That was the 2 minute. There's definitely an inversion here that people were talking about taking, and I saw other people that were taking that you maybe could have taken. There was somewhere in this region here. You can see obviously we created a level of liquidity, swept, and then obviously we came all the way back down pretty much to the lows. Eventually we came and swept them the next day. But you can see here this was obviously would have worked as well, although I don't really take shorts because they just have a lower win rate for me, and I don't see why I should lower my win rate when I can just wait for longs, which are going to be better. But overall, that was my Monday. There was obviously a few trades in here that you could have taken in PM. You can see here some decent inversions, this 3 or 4 candle V shapes, but obviously you can see not really major liquidity sweeps. I would have wanted to see this low swept to take another long in this position, so I just waited for the next day. Tuesday, I'm sure there was another good trade in here. Yes, this was that 2 minute, the infamous 2 minute that I ended up holding for ages, and it eventually hit the TP. So let's take a look here. This is Tuesday. Tuesday's trade, I'm from the UK, so I do sometimes trade London, depending on what we're looking for. I leave, as I said, alerts at these major lows. And every time one of these lows gets hit, I get an alert, and then I'll be checking the charts to see if I can get myself an inversion. You can see we hit these 3 major swing lows here. Tons of liquidity from the previous New York session from the previous day here. We come down, sweep out of them, and then we get an inversion to the upside here, as you can see. So you've got your big major liquidity sweeps. You've got your inversion here that we can target. We get the inversion. So I enter, as you can see here, this would be about 3 or 4 micros. I'm on MMQ right now, but I'm basically scaled for NQ. So this is 10 times smaller, but this would be out. It's not 38 micros. It'll be 3 or 4 micros. I risk $150 per trade on a bunch of accounts, like 20 Apexes and some other ones as well. So overall, I'm basically risking a small amount per account, but I'm targeting a massive amount per the group of accounts basically. And I only take high quality setups. I'm not doing any of that nonsense where I faff about. So I'm risking 150, targeting a 1 for 1. As you can see here, we came back tested, and then over the course of the next 10 minutes or so came up, hit my 1 for 1 target here. Well, this is a bit more than 1 for 1 actually. Hit my 1 for 1 target here. So I scale half my position, that's $75, and then we go break even on the rest. This chopped around for a while, but it did eventually come up and hit my next target, which was around a 3 to 1, a 2 or a 3 to 1 into this gap here. This is where I scaled another one of my micros. I think this was around up around $120, $150. So I'd be up around $200 on the position so far, and I still have a micro I think I had 2 micros left because I took this with 4 micros. So I would have had 2 micros left at this point, and I kept holding them all the way back up towards where I thought we would probably hit, which was the inception of this dump that we saw here from around that London Open. Targeting the London Open high, which is a pretty obvious area to target. You can see we came up and hit that. This is around a 5 to 1 if you'd have held the whole thing. Obviously that's $750 if I'd hold the whole position back up there. But I like to scale along the way because you never know how far the market is going to go. And I like to take profit along the way. But this made me around $400 for $150 risk. Another beautiful trade last week, and really quite simple. You've obviously just got to have the balls to continue to hold this for a good while, because this one did take around 4 hours to play out. But overall, another good trade, and that was me done for the day for that day as well, because I only take 1 trade a day. Consistency rules and all that are important, especially on Apex accounts, as a lot of you will know if you trade Apex. But you can see here, we've basically got not much else, to be honest. There was a small 1 minute that some people did take and win on, but there were equal lows below, and we didn't get the major sweep that I would have been looking for a sweep like this. If this sweep had happened, I probably would have found a way to take this on some other accounts that I've got. But you can see there was a 1 minute here that worked. We came down, we swept some liquidity. You could have entered here. Obviously your stop loss, you're sized, and again that would have been about 4 micros for me there. This one would have been an absolute banger, as you can see, but this wasn't really the kind of thing that I'd be looking for. And when you've got this obvious kind of liquidity below like this trend line liquidity with these perfect taps, I wouldn't have been taking this without this being swept. And I was already done for the day, as I said, so this one was fine by me. In the PM, this one there was a few interesting trades here. We came down. Obviously, there's a few 3 or 4 candle inversions here. Anything that was bullish this day would have worked, as you can see. Tuesday was an interesting day in terms of the markets, in my opinion. So we go into Wednesday. I'm just trying to remember what I took on Wednesday now. It's gone the 5 minutes, so this will probably jog my memory. So that was Tuesday. We're going to Wednesday here. Let's take a look at what we've got. This is another day where we just pumped straight up, I think, wasn't it? Was this the day where I took this 5 minute at open? I'm just trying to remember what I took. I really can't remember what I took on Wednesday. It's just there was quite a lot of chop on Wednesday. Oh yeah, I remember what this day was. I remember now. This was the day where we had this ridiculous amount of liquidity above like this, and it was like you were just trying to find an entry to the upside. And I think I didn't alert this because it wasn't really the model, but we came down, we tapped into an hourly gap. We didn't get a liquidity sweep here, but there were a few trades that I took in here that ended up being small winners, but I never alerted them because really there wasn't much to alert. But you can see these weren't really the model, but this was one of the trades that I did take light on my fundeds, just for fun really. You can see we came down, we actually tapped into a gap. We got a liquidity sweep here of well, what was I looking for? This area here. So this is your liquidity sweep. We come down. Obviously, you can see we're still respecting these bearish, these PD arrays bearish. We never closed above any of these, but once we closed above this one, I was happy to take this light just to see if it would work. It came up and hit a 1-for-1 and then hit my break even straight away. So I scaled half of this, made about literally like $30 or $40 per account, but that's fine. And then you can see we came down, hit break even, and then after that, I just set an alert at this low, and I was waiting for this low to get hit for me to take a trade, and you can see we never hit the low. And then we did start inversing bullish here, which was annoying because there wasn't really any entry for me, and I wasn't really willing to gamble on any of these higher gaps actually, you know, working out. There was some gaps here that got inversed and then re-inversed, so bad price action. Usually if I see, like for example here, we've got this big load of fair value gaps like this. This is a 5 minute as well. You can see it did technically inverse this. This inversed on the 5 minute and then instantly re-inversed. When I see this kind of price action where gaps inverse and then re-inverse, I just stay out of the market because they're not being respected, which means that trades are more likely to fail. And I would definitely just wait until we see price clean up and we get a major sweep before I would take any kind of trades. There was also, I tried to take this 3 minute at open because I was like, I'm thinking we've got this trend line and we're obviously going to pump and run all this trend line. And then I saw that we had this 3 minute at open here, and again, this wasn't the model. so I didn't alert this. But you can see with this big candle to the upside here, I had a feeling that this was going to pump to the upside, and unfortunately I got break evened at open. I didn't even hit my 1-for-1. I just got break even because we hit this high here, and I was thinking I'm basically not going to gamble open. So unfortunately I got break evened and then it ran. So that was again an unfortunate scenario for me, but it played out pretty much as I expected. We ran all this liquidity here, and then we came up all the way to the upside here, and there was actually a really good short up here. As I said, I don't really take shorts, but I do like to mark them out because it's interesting to see, because they do work quite a lot of the time. Massively bullish day again, but we did sweep a major swing high over here, which I can't see on the 1 minute right now, but you can see we came up and we formed this AMD, which is another element of the strategy, which I do sometimes like to include, where you start to accumulate and then you're looking for that manipulation and then the distribution back the other way. You can see this is really obvious. We're in a range here, we're accumulating, and then we come up, we manipulate the high, and then we get this bearish reaction. And you can see here, just like with my other trades, we've got a 3 up. This is a 6 candle one, so it's not as good. I think this might have been, was it a 2 minute as well? Just gonna look. I do apologize about all the skipping around. Yeah, this 2 minute was probably the best one. You can see here, pretty obvious accumulation. We manipulate and then we come down with these 4 candles. You could have entered here, as you can see. As always, scaled, you're risking halfway between the gap and the low. Obviously, if we come down and stop above this time, as always, you would get out. We hit the 1-for-1. You could have scaled half at your 1-for-1, as always. $75 for me per account, and then obviously this would have come down and been a winner. You could have scaled. Once you get to around a 3-to-1, 4-to-1, I'll generally start scaling out, because at that point, my consistency rules, I don't want to make more than 500 a day, otherwise I won't get payouts, because the consistency rules basically dictate that I can't make more than 500 a day, really. So obviously I'm not complaining. 500 a day per 20 accounts is absolutely insane. But you can see, obviously, with this strategy, if you're scaled correctly, you can get yourself some really good trades. As you can see here then, really obvious day. Big pump and a big dump. There wasn't really anything here that I could have taken. Like I said, pretty much just a break-even day for that day. Didn't really alert anything either. I didn't alert that short because overall it was a good try. Definitely a good, it was a good trade, but I don't, as I said, take shorts with any kind of size. And I don't really take them with any kind of regularity, and I don't alert them. Just because for me personally, my win rate is like 80 or 90% with just taking longs from these major swing lows. And I don't want to be adding in any trades for no reason that are going to lower my win rate, basically. So we're going on to Thursday here. We can see this was during the night. We actually created some really obvious targets. Thursday was a really interesting day in terms of price action. I actually read this day really well as well, but unfortunately I didn't actually take the short. That would have been an absolute banger. But let's just take a look at the chart here anyway. As we can see, we've got a really obvious few areas to be targeting here. You can see these big wicks here. These are really obvious areas of liquidity for me. Places that price is probably going to go to. And if you look here, you can see we have got ourselves some accumulation going sideways. But the thing that really stuck out to me was this trend line. Look at this trend line. This is like the most perfect trend line that I've ever seen. It actually comes all the way down to something down here, if I remember correctly. But basically, if you look at this is absolutely 100% in my opinion getting ran. Especially when you look at, we've been moving bearish for the past few days. We come up. I mean, this at open is, in my opinion, really obvious that we're going to get ran. We come here. This is just before open. And then bang, open, we come down. If you look at the 5 minute here, we do have a nice, I wouldn't say it's a textbook trade, but we do have a 5 minute inverse here. I know that a lot of other people that trade these inverted fair value gaps traded this. You can see, obviously, this. I don't really like to take trades like this before open unless I'm already break even. But you can see here, this was really obviously going to happen. In my opinion, accumulation, manipulation, where we sweep this high. And then, as you can see, we got the inversion there. And then once open came, it just absolutely blasted down straight through all these levels. At least a 1 to 5. Another really solid trade. Not really my model, as I said, so I wouldn't have alerted this, and I only took this really light on my own fundeds with 1 micro, but I still made around $200 or $300 on this drop, which is pretty incredible. So for example, I was scaled for here. This would be $50 risk, so that would have been 100, 150, 200, depending on how far we went. But then the trade that I took here that was interesting to me, after we dumped, obviously, as I said, my model is that we come down, we get a major sweep. You can see we've got a few major sweeps here. And then I was looking for a reversal. And as always, an inversion back to the upside. And you can see here, we did get ourselves a really, really nice 3-minute inverse, which I took. And this was alerted in the Discord. As always, guys, you can get yourself alerts and signals in the Discord. I did actually alert this in real time, and it ended up working, as you can see. We've got ourselves major sweep to the left, and then another manipulation of another major sweep, followed by a really bullish reaction from this level and an inversion that we could use to trade from. You can see here that I was basically looking for this lovely big 3-minute candle that breaks above price. You can see lovely, there's 2 sweeps here followed by this inversion. As always, very, very simple. I say it every single time. I enter here, I basically risk, I think I risked 2 micros on this one because I was quite confident this would, you can see this is 20 on MNQ, but on NQ this would be 10. This would be 2 micros, sorry. $150 risk. Go break even. On this one, because I risked 2 micros and I didn't want to scale out half the position straight away. So what I did was I actually went break even at 1-to-1, and then I basically just trailed my stop loss on the first micro. So I think I ended up getting up to around like 1.5 up here or something before I scaled out of the first micro. So it's about, what is it, $100 on that one. And then I had the second micro, which was in $100, and when I saw this price action like this, where we're kind of going up but we're not really V-shaping out of here, I just thought I'm gonna trail the second micro as well, just because I thought I want to secure the 200 for the day. And I think I made it just over $200 on this trade. I ended up getting stopped on the other one in profit as well. I thought this was a really good trade though. Multiple major sweeps of liquidity, really obvious inverse, decent targets above, but obviously when you're trading bearish over the past few days, it's difficult to get these inversions back to the upside that fully smack all the way up. And if you look, we perfectly tapped our 618 Fibonacci, adding in another layer of analysis here, but you don't need to do this. But you can see we tapped that 618 Fibonacci perfectly, and we were rejecting this 50% quite heavily this whole time. You can see these wicks here. It was pretty obvious we were going to reverse, in my opinion. So that was a good trade on Thursday. I thought this one was actually really, really nice one. And then we obviously chopped for the rest of the day. This was pre-NFP, so I wasn't going to take any more trades. Although there were, again, people on my timeline that did take this 2-minute trade, which I thought was actually quite good in hindsight. You can see we did sweep out some levels of liquidity. We delivered out of this 2-minute gap to the left here, and you can see this is just a 3-pattern candle V-shape. As I said, unless it's a major liquidity sweep, the only other time that I will take a trade potentially is if we get a really nice 3-candle pattern V-shape like this. Look how obvious this inversion is here. It's obviously got decent risk tolerance. I could have took this with 2 micros, targeted a 1-for-1. This actually ended up going for almost a 2-to-1. You could have held this for a long while and eventually got the almost to the high, as you can see here, before getting break even on my model specifically. But if I'd have taken this, I probably just would have scaled at a 1-for-1, because you can see we're chopping here. In reality, I don't think that this would have gone much further. So I could have made myself 150 on this one. But overall, right now, I would say I wouldn't be trading in chop like this, especially pre-big news the next day. So that was Thursday for me. And then we go into Friday, which was an absolutely ridiculous day for IFGG traders. I think this is one of the best days I've ever seen in terms of price action. Basically everything that I saw just worked. It was pretty remarkable. But we did get a few good trades here. I'll just show you a few of them. So we've got ourselves the short was absolutely insane, to be fair. This short was an absolute beast. You can see obviously we've got our obvious level of liquidity up here. We came up after NFP happened. We accumulate, we manipulate. we take out the high. We've got really obvious gap here. I think this was a gap on the 1 minute, 2 minute, and 3 minute. Let me just take the 1 minute, because we're not too far back now, are we? I can actually just take a quick look. Honestly, where is it? Struggle so much with trading view sometimes. There's a really obvious... Was it a 3 minute? It might have been a 5 minute, actually. We'll get there in the end, guys. I think it was just this 2 minute. But there was this really obvious gap. Obviously, we've got our major liquidity sweep, and we've got AMD, accumulation, manipulation, distribution. As you can see, we've got a really obvious target below, which is this data wick, or this really obvious wick. As I said before, these big obvious wicks can become really good obvious targets. And you can see here, this worked out like an absolute beast, to be fair. As always, scaled for halfway between the high and the gap. Targeting a 1-for-1. 1-for-1 gets hit. You could have taken this if you believe in shorts. I don't personally take shorts. I'll take them light, but I won't take them full size. But you can see here this would have worked as well. Down to the low for a 4-to-1. You could have even targeted even lower, all the way down to this low, which would have been an absolutely ridiculous amount. This would have destroyed my consistency, to be honest. But as always, I was more interested in longs, and there was a 1 minute long here that I took. I think it was in here. Just going to take a look again. You can see major sweeps. I think it was here. I think I might have broke my rules a little bit and got into this a little bit early. Just thinking we've swept all this liquidity and we're getting a bullish reaction. Was it this 2 minute that I took? I think the 2 minute closed to the tick. And I don't usually take inverses that close to the tick. On MMQ this closed above, as you can see. But on NQ I think this closed to the tick. But I think I decided to take it based on the fact that I was pretty confident that we were going to go up. You can see this ran up for a 2-to-1 for me. And then we started to chop around. But the banger trade that everyone took, the trade that everyone was looking at, was this absolutely amazing. Look at this liquidity that we formed here after chopping for a while. There's no way that this wasn't going to go and get hit, in my opinion. And you can see here, we come down, we remanipulate and sweep the low. We sweep out another major low here, all the way down through all of this level here. And then we get this absolutely insane 1 minute inverse, which I ended up taking. I took this 1 minute inverse light, and then I was waiting for the 2 minute to inverse to scale. I actually sometimes do scale into trades depending on how much conviction I've got, or if there are gaps above, and I don't know whether, we obviously never know if the gap above is going to inverse as well. But I just thought there's no way I'm not taking this, because I just knew when I saw this liquidity above that it was pretty likely we were going to go and take that out. You can see we've got a ridiculous amount of wicks in this area that are obvious liquidity, just resting there ready to be taken. And you can see lovely inverse here. So I took one micro here, and then we absolutely blasted to the upside here, already up to around $75. Obviously that's one micro at risking 150, one micro up at 75. And then we've got the 2 minute inverse, which I'll just take a look at here if I can actually finally find it again. We've got this 2 minute inverse here, and after this I was really confident that we were going to go and take out all these highs. I actually scaled in here with a second micro, which took my average position to halfway between these entries, which was here. So this became my entry. I had my, if it came back and closed back below this 2 minute, I would have stopped. As you can see, 2 micros risk, $150 risk, but I've increased my potential for profit. Instead of just scaling, I actually decided to add in on this one because I was so confident that we were going to go up. And you can see we chopped around a little bit, ended up going up again, and I think I ended up taking half my position off here. This was around, I think, $150, $200 of profit on the first entry. And then the way Apex works is weird. Instead of it giving you an average entry, it trades the first entry, and then the second entry is standalone once you scale it out. So basically I had another entry that was here, obviously, and then this one I just targeted up towards the high and then started trailing my stop loss. I think this one ended up being around $150, $200 profit as well. But overall, absolutely amazing trade. And definitely, I mean, that is like an absolute textbook piece of work of art, really, in terms of what you're looking for. In terms of my model, major liquidity sweeps, obvious liquidity above, really, really obvious inverses with huge momentum, and basically just very, very high chance of success, in my opinion. At the very least, an extremely high chance of being a break-even trade because of the amount of momentum. And that was it. That was it for last week. It was a really good week. Multiple trades out of these trades were alerted in the private Discord. Make sure you go and sign up so you can get involved in what I'm doing in there. Get involved in the community. Really, really appreciate you watching. I know this video is long, but I thought it was really interesting to go over these trades. Please do like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Check back every day for daily videos. And as I said, do go and sign up to the private Discord, link in the description, if you want to get alerts and signals for these trades. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.